What's good, guys? Justin here, back with a new mod update for the DRZ. I've been riding this bike for 2 years now, and this is just going to be like an update of where I'm at as far as mods. I did new graphics and shit like that, so it's looking a little different than it has in the past. But let's jump right into it. I'm going to go over pretty much every single mod that I have to the bike, starting with just normal stuff that I think you should do as soon as you purchase the bike. I have a previous video where I call out staple mods that I would do immediately upon getting the bike just to make it more user-friendly and more rideable. At the end of the video, I'll start to go into more of the stunt stuff that I have done to it, as well as just some things that I like about it, tweaking here and there. And a lot of it is actually just kind of adding to factory setup. So let's jump right into it. First of all, one of the first things I would get is the Zeta quick turn throttle tube. What you're going to notice as soon as you go to put new grips on this bike is you're not going to be able to get the, well, I shouldn't say not, but it's very difficult to get the grip, the factory grip, off of the factory throttle tube. It's like heated on or super adhesed on there, so it's super hard to get off. So when you go to switch your grips, you might as well buy the Zeta quick turn throttle tube. It's an aluminum throttle tube. It's a short throw. When I was riding the bike initially, it was almost annoying how far you would have to drop your wrist and your arm down. I felt like, and it's probably bad form, but I was dropping my elbow to accommodate for not being able to turn the throttle far enough to get it wide open. So replace that. Next, and along with that, I put these pillow top grips on there. I think they're Pro Taper. Yeah. Pro Taper pillow tops. I like these. They've held up for about 1.5 years now, maybe a little bit longer. They probably aren't the longest lasting, but they don't tear my hands up, which I like. Along with that, and they're all muddy, are these 50 stunt bar ends on here. 50 stunt bar ends I like over the actual, I guess you could say, like hand covers or hand guards that you would have, like bark busters. Some of them are just plastic. Other ones have an actual piece of aluminum or metal that runs from the end of the bar over into like the midsection of the bar, and it protects here to protect your hand in the event that you would hit a tree or something like that. I don't like those because, one, I run fat bars, which it's hard to, I guess, put different stuff on here, just because it's it changes width. It like tapers down. But I do like the bars. I like the way they're set up. I have mine rocked forward a little bit more, and I'll go into that here in just a second. But these bar ends are still really great for the bike, just because I've laid it down probably over 24 times, and I've never broken a lever off yet, so knock on wood. Along with that, I replaced the factory bar clamps and went with these Pro Tapers. One, they're more rigid. Two, in my opinion, they bring them up just a little bit. And then also, I just think they look so much better than that crisscross piece of shit looking one that was on there before. Also, up on the bars, I run an RSC. RSCs, for the stunt guys, is pretty much the way to go. But I think this clutch lever has its place in all types of riding, as well as dirt. I know some guys that run hair scrambles that they run RSCs. They don't do stunt. They just do hair scrambles, and they like them just because they're short, they're out of the way, they're an easy pull. That comes in a few options. There is mid-length, short, long levers, and then there are 2 options as far as whether you get a bushing, a Delrin bushing that goes in here, or you get a ball bearing. I've heard pretty much across the board that it's not a huge noticeable difference. I had the Delrin bushing, super easy pull over factory. It's night and day difference. It doesn't, the factory one, in fact, had a super annoying amount of play up and down here to the point where it would rattle when I would ride, and it just irritated the shit out of me. I have, let's see, we'll go into the handbrake later. I got this random brush guard piece. It's from my buddy Adam. I don't even know where he got it. I took it to his shop, and I brought my bike home one day and noticed that it was on there, so he did that. And It's pretty cool. I'm sure I hit it on limbs and shit, and it's probably saving my headlight, but I like it. He put it on there, like I said, and I just left it. But let's see. All right. I went with steel braided brake lines. Core Moto is the brand that I opted for. Obviously, my bike is Hoosiered out in camo over white. A lot of people say, why didn't you do black? I don't think it pops as much. That's just my opinion. It's not your bike, so go fuck yourself. Let's see. And this makes the camo pop with the orange brake lines. Again, those are Core Moto. They're, I want to say, $115 for a set of 2. I have an additional line that I run my handbrake off of for my rear handbrake. I run a dual caliper, and I think an extra line is like $69, I want to say. So altogether, for $200, it's a pretty decent setup. Biggest thing you're going to notice when you go from the stock OEM brake lines to the steel braided that I've noticed is it's not, in my opinion, it's not as much of a linear brake power, but it is a harder braking force once you hit a certain point. Now, I haven't had them on there very long. Maybe my pads haven't seated properly, but I've just noticed with the steel braided lines, it's okay, then boom, the braking power comes on all of a sudden. I haven't had any issues on the street or going around corners or trail braking where I've been like, ooh, that's sketchy. I really like the stopping power of it. On the front, I haven't swapped out pads on the rear, but on the front, I've run EBC pads. I've noticed some dragging in them, and I've gone over it a couple times, taken it off, pushed the pistons in on the caliper, and redone it. And I've still noticed dragging, but again, they're fresh. It might just be because they're new, but I really like them over the stock ones. I've noticed a significant amount of braking force added to that. So, you can see how I've kind of rocked my bars forward. So with that, if I'm about 5'10"-ish, 5'11" on a good day. So when I'm standing on the pegs, when I had it set up factory, I would have to lean over to have my hands on the bars while standing up. When I rock the bars forward, I noticed that they're almost perfect, if maybe a quarter of an inch short. But again, I put those Pro Taper risers on there and rock the bars forward. I just prefer it that way. The posture is good, the controlling is good, or how I have the control set up, I like. And then I almost can stand up straight up and down and not have to replace the bars with something else. Pro Taper fat bars are the way to go. A lot of people, these come factory, a lot of people actually seek them out and buy them aftermarket if they don't already have them. Let's see. As far as more 50 stunt products go, I have the front and rear 50 stunt sliders with the Delrin ends. And you can see there's a big spacer back here. I got these for a really good deal on eBay, but I think you can pick them up for like $89 a pair. I just run the front and back. There is a set that goes on the frame, like near the cases on each side, but I've heard that when you lay it down, those have a tendency to snap off and they snap the tabs off the frame. I've never actually put them on. That's just something that I've heard, so I want to stay away from it. I know WR250Xs have a similar issue where guys lay their bike over and it snaps that tab off or it wallers out that thread, and they don't really work so well. So never had any issues. I just run the ones on the bars and the ones on the front and rear axle, and they've been great so far. I run EDC Motard pegs. I've seen a ridiculous amount of aftermarket pegs that go anywhere from 80, 200 and up for pegs. I don't remember who sent me this link, but these pegs are $50 and they have the Delrin or plastic slider on the bottom, and then it's a larger, I mean, it's not the biggest MX platform for your foot, but it is a way more aggressive and a much larger platform than the stock ones. Also, the stock ones have that rubber thing in there. Yes, it does save the bottom of your boots or your shoes. If you're going to commute to work, I would still buy these and then find a piece of rubber to cover it up with if you're worried about your boots. But if you're really that worried, you're kind of a pussy anyway. So buy these, save yourself a lot of money. They're fucking awesome. They've taken a ton of abuse. I would recommend them to anybody. Again, those are EDC motard pegs. And I know that sounds weird, but you have to Google it that way for them to come up. I looked up supermoto pegs, couldn't find them. They're motard pegs. Down here, while we're looking at it, I have a MSR gear shift lever. This thing is so freaking awesome. It is a +1 inch, so I think it's supposed to be an inch longer as opposed to an inch out. But the biggest thing that I've noticed about this is the clearance that you get between the actual shifter and the case. So I put on, again, this is another product that our mod that I put on here, is the Thumper Talk case savers for the DRZ. So when you buy your bike, a real notable problem that everybody or most people know about is the OEM or stock gear shift lever is precariously close to this case. So when you lay your bike down, this peg will fold up, you'll hit your lever will drive into the case and it will puncture a hole in it. Those are $160 to replace, and you're gonna leak oil and you're not gonna wanna ride your bike because it'll blow your motor up and JB Weld looks stupid. So get yourself these case savers. I think they're like 40-ish bucks. And you put those on with high heat silicone, stick them on there, leave them on there or leave that silicone on there for, I'd say, minimum of 12 hours before you ride the bike. And again, that shifter lever has so much clearance, even with, I guess you're adding material with the case saver, but when I had the stock shifter on there, it would grind up against, and you can see it, it would grind up against the case saver. And I actually thought that my transmission was dicked up, or maybe I needed an oil change really bad because I noticed my shifting was really clunky, but it was actually the shift lever grinding against the side of this case protector. But now with the MSR, I've got tons of clearance. It's beautiful. I freaking love it. I went with a non-O-ring chain. I've got a DID Gold 520, 120 link chain. It has a master link or clip-on master link. I like that because I have a dirt setup that I swap over to. Sometimes I swap gearing, and that works out really well that I'm not having to grind shit down. I can just pop the clip off. Now, the caveat to that is clip style master links or master link chains are nice. They're very convenient, but they're also probably a little more dangerous because that master link can pop off of there, which can result in throwing your chain, which if that gets bound up can lock up the rear wheel, could damage your counter shaft. There's a plethora of things that could happen that aren't favorable. So there is a solution to that. You can safety wire it. Google that shit. I'm not gonna show you how to do it. I don't do it. I'm riding a motard. I rarely go over 70 miles an hour. Yes, it can happen sub 70 or not going fast, but the likelihood of that is not as great as if I was running it like on a big bike where I'm doing, I don't know, 120 mile an hour plus, or if I'm accelerating at a greater rate and there's more force on that chain or more stress on it. I would not run a non-O-ring master link style chain. Probably not great for a big bike, but it suits the DRZ platform or motard platform, in my opinion, pretty well. I have a JT 44 tooth sprocket. I would recommend for the DRZ, and again, this is my opinion, what I think is the best gearing would be the 15 tooth front, which comes factory, and a 44 tooth rear. 1544 gives you a lot of grunt. I can do sit down, clutch ups in fourth gear, but at the same time, I don't have any problem doing highway speeds, and I don't have any problem going 80-ish, 90-ish. I think I've seen 91 to 95. That's really hard on your bike. I don't recommend doing that. Not the greatest, but I have gotten it up there. And again, I really stress that I think if you run 1544, you'll really like it, especially putting around town. Makes wheelies easier. I usually crank my idle up a little bit and then run 44 and you can catch idle pretty easily. Let's see. What else? As far as exhaust, I have the stock header. I mean, you can get aftermarket headers for anywhere from 80 to 250-ish, just depending on who you go with. To me, steel is steel, so I haven't really needed to, other than cosmetically. I don't really see a reason. I don't think you're going to gain maybe a half a horse, if that. So it's just, and again, in my opinion, I don't really see a need to do it unless it's for cosmetic reasons. If you find a good deal on a full exhaust setup, by all means, go for it. If you're one of those guys that likes MRD, by all means, wait the 3 months, go for it. I have the Delkevic pipe on the back. Why? I like carbon. I think it looks good. Actually, out of the box, it fits really well. It's really good quality, and I don't care if people think it looks like shit because it's huge. I don't see other bikes that have it or other DRZs that have one, so it was something different to go with that wasn't the plain old MRD. Now, I did have my bike dynoed, and it dynoed at about the same as a full MRD setup. Now, there's going to be a bunch of keyboard warriors that say, oh, that's bullshit, MRD makes the most power. Yes, it does if you run like a big bore and cams and so on, etc. You're running it out of the box factory, or if you're running like what I did, which was the 3x3 mod, which you cut the 3x3 inch hole in the top of your airbox, and then you jet your bike accordingly with the exhaust that you put on it, which is all that I've done. I've made, I think it's at 37 horsepower, which is a very moderate amount, but a full MRD with the same 3x3 and jet setting is right about the same. Now, people dispute that. That's fine. I don't care. I could be wrong. I couldn't give a shit less. It's not a fucking leader bike. It's not a dyno queen, whatever. That's just what I've experienced. You can take it or leave it. Let's see. Moving forward. Oh, so I noticed one of the bigger flaws with the DRZ was the factory paint that goes on the frame is shitbox. I literally think that it is flat rattle can black that they just put a clear coat over the top of. So subsequently, my boots, and again, this is a 2015 model, and you can actually see where it's chipping off right here, and some other spots down here. But it's rubbed off the side of the frame with my boots. So I got a sheet of Kydex. This is, I want to say 0.80 or something like that. You really don't need it that thick. I think it's 0.06 or 0.60, I don't remember, but get a thinner sheet of Kydex, and what you'll do with it is cut it roughly to shape, heat it up with a heat gun or hair dryer or whatever. Buy a heat gun, it just makes your life easier. It's 20 bucks. Heat it up with a heat gun, slap it on the frame. Got one on this side too. Slap it on the frame, zip tie it, and then you can keep molding it. So once you have that zip tied on there, that part is going to stay. Work your way down and zip tie the lower part, and then as you go, just heat it up a little bit, mold it around the frame, work your way down. This bottom one's like a music note, and it's really simple. I would get a good set of shears to cut it with, and then as far as trimming it up, you could probably use a Dremel tool with the cutoff or something like that, but I just use shears, took my time with it, trimmed as I went. I think the whole project took me maybe like an hour or so, and it protects your frame, keeps your boots from rubbing that paint off of there. Let's see, what else? As far as tires go, I run Pilot Power 2CTs. They're not the best tire in the world. They're sticky, they grab really well, but I've noticed that the rear flattens out a lot. I usually get about 2 to 3 rears out of the front. So I'll change, like I said, the rear tire probably 3 times a season. And then, I mean, it just depends on how much you ride, but that'll give you an idea kind of how soft they are, that you'll burn them off and they square off a little bit. I'm not sure if you can tell from the video, but they get a little square kind of quickly. Oh, for graphics, these are from AMR Racing. They're all right. They're pretty good. I had to do some trimming with them. I just like that they had a camo setup. The seat is an SDG, just a normal MX seat. It's gripper. They do make a step up, I think, still, which I kind of recommend, because if you like to do one-hand wheelies or whatever, or no-hand wheelies, that step kind of holds your ass into it, which is good. So I kind of like that, but yeah, it's up to you. If you want the step, it's there. If not, whatever. As far as, let's see. Oh yeah, the the oil blow-by mod, I guess you could say, or air breather mod. So there is a black box that typically goes right here, and it is to catch the oil that gets blown by for more pressure. A lot of guys notice it when they're doing wheelies. They'll start to see oil either in the air box and or accumulated on the hose that connects from the bottom of your motor, or like right here, right there, runs into that black box. You'll see there's a line that runs in there. The box isn't there, obviously, but you'll see oil seepage going into there. Now, some guys just replace that with actual hose clamps as opposed to the shitty ones that come on there, and they don't have an issue with it. Now, I like to keep my oil in the motor as opposed to not in the motor, which means if it's sitting in the air box or sitting in that oil air separator black box of death there, I'm not too hip on that. So I want to stay inside of the motor where it can be used. So subsequently, I have capped off here, and then there is a line that runs out of the top of the valve cover. So what you'll do is you'll need a 1/2 inch diameter hose, and that's inside diameter, I believe. So 1/2 inch inside diameter piece of just fuel hose would be fine. And you will literally plug that down on top of the valve cover stem and clamp it. And then you run the tube along your frame, and it won't conflict with your tank if you do it right. Run it along the frame, and then as you can see, it comes out right here, and then I have it connected to a filter, which then is zip tied to my radiator shroud, or actually radiator guards, this plastic thing, there's a little hole in it. That is a uni pod filter, or mini pod filter. It has a 1/2 inch male adapter on it. They're about 10 or 11 bucks on Amazon, and so that'll just plug right into the 1/2 inch hose. You'll put a hose clamp on there and you'll be good to go. You'll notice I have my suspension settings on here. That's probably one of the more important things that I've done for the bike. It just depends on what you're looking for. I think everybody should have their suspension set up on their bike to fit not only their weight, but how they ride the bike and their needs. I'm 250 pounds. I'm a big motherfucker. And so I need a stiff setup. I need heavier springs, which I got from Race Tech. So if you go on Race Tech's website, it'll give you a calculator that puts in your weight and your riding style, what you want to use the bike for. So I put in supermoto, trails, put in my weight, and then I had custom springs ordered. And so then my bike was fully serviced, front forks, seals, springs, valving. That was all done by Shock Zone, which is a local guy here near St. Louis. That might be backwards, but it says Shock Zone. 314-960-0128. Guy's name is Jim Metter. He is the suspension guru when it comes to dirt bikes. He does all kinds of tuning for race bikes, for hair scramble bikes. He's now dabbling into the supermoto world. My bike is super rigid. When I set wheelies down, I don't get that big spongy feeling in the front end. Actually, the biggest thing that I noticed when I ratcheted the bike into my truck to take it home was that I had like barely any like play going forward. I was like, oh man, that's really stiff. Well, it's supposed to be for a reason. As soon as I got on the bike and hit back roads, it is rigid like a Porsche or a sports car. Handles great, super responsive. Downfall that I've noticed is now I feel like I need a steering damper, but that's not the suspension's fault. The suspension is now doing its job properly. I need to set the sag, but that's a different story. But I would recommend, if you are going to invest money into your bike, and again, I've said this like 15 times, but this is just my opinion. If you guys want to do other shit, that's fine. If you want to put a big bore in your motor, fine. If you want to do cams, fine. You're going to sacrifice reliability, but I think that money is way better spent setting up the suspension on your bike. I cannot preach that enough. Why try to add more horsepower to your bike when you can make the horsepower that is already there take that and put it to the ground more efficiently. That's just my opinion. I recommend that with cars. I would rather, instead of doing a turbo setup on a car, I would rather do the suspension setup and get every ounce of that power that it's making to the ground, as opposed to trying to spend more money making more power that's getting used up in suspension. So again, that's just me. I really like the suspension tune. It's great for wheelies. It's amazing for handling and cornering. The way it's set up is just, like I said, it's like a whole different bike. For air filters, I run an Uni air filter with that oil breather mod. I don't have to clean it out nearly as much. I still clean it out religiously, but I don't have to clean it as much because it's not getting oil caked like it normally would. Let's see. Trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, I'll go over my dual caliper setup that I just had done here in just a second. Oh, one of the things, if you do not use your stem lock or your handlebar lock, like the, I guess to keep somebody from stealing your bike, what the suspension guy, what Jim Metter told me to do, which is to put silicone inside of there and seal that up. Because apparently moisture and water can get in there when you're washing your bike, or if it's raining, or just in general, moisture can accumulate in there and deteriorate the steering stem bearings on the inside. So if you want to save those, if you don't use it, I've never used that. I really don't think that's going to stop somebody. I've seen people steal bikes by just taking the handlebars and snapping that shit, and then they take off with it. So I actually, if I go somewhere where I feel like I need to lock the bike up, I take a bike lock, wrap it around a telephone pole. That suits me just fine. Let's see, what else? All right, I guess I'll go over my handbrake setup. So I have a Nissan 12.7 millimeter master. That is feeding down to, that's the handbrake master. It's a right side handbrake that's just flipped over. That cost me like 50 bucks. Go on eBay, you can look for them. I'm not sure the fitting size. You have to do your research on that. But that is running down. Again, this is my extra brake line, and that goes to this Tokiko 2-piston Ninja 650 caliper. So this is a right side front Ninja 650 Tokiko caliper. That is apparently what's utilized the best for a dual caliper setup. I have a bracket that I had welded to the existing brake bracket. So this is cast aluminum. This is billet aluminum. The weld is kind of difficult to make. I'm gonna have this powder coated, so it'll be all black eventually. And but anyway, yeah. So that's just welded onto the existing one. Not a super hard thing to do. Find somebody that can TIG weld. Or 50 Stunt sells one. I like 50 Stunt's products, but they're really, really expensive. And if you can make it yourself, go for it. Or find somebody that can affordably. That's really all I'm seeing right now. A lot of guys like the manual cam chain tensioner. Don't see reason to have that. So I just got the factory one on there. Got a DRC Edge 2 taillight. It's been shitty ever since I bought it. I like the way it looks, but the LEDs clap out in it pretty easy. Half the time, some of them don't light up. Somebody else may have one that works great. That's just how mine's been. I don't plan on replacing it. It's fine for now. Oh, I do have 50 Stunt pegs. Just haven't put them on there yet. Got these the other day from a guy. So I'm gonna put those on eventually. They're gonna go on this subframe cage thing that me and a buddy built. It's pretty badass. You'll see that eventually. I need to have it sandblasted and powder coated. I'm also gonna take the neon color off of those and either do orange or just leave it aluminum and not put anything on there. But that is all I can really think of for now. Take a gander at her. Let's see. Oh, almost missed something. I did this in the last video like 15 times. These are shock socks. The brand, if I had it somewhere, black socks, I think it is, BS something. Let's see if I have the card in here anywhere. I don't see it, but look up shock socks. So I've gone through 3 or 4 sets of front fork seals. Now, granted, it's because my suspension wasn't set up and so I was hammering the shit out of it, but also that keeps dirt and debris and all kinds of nasty shit from getting into the seals and compromising the integrity of them, causing them to break down or leak. Haven't noticed any leakage. Again, I just had them done, which is good, and I've been taking it easy on the bike so I don't blow them because that shit's expensive. But those are huge as far as saving your seals, saving your suspension, keeping the shit clean. I highly recommend those. Highly, highly, highly recommend those. Those are like $29, $30, something like that, but they're super helpful. I used to have a tap-in kit. Those are good if you don't want a dual caliper setup. You can run a tap-in. I think I sold mine for like $100, something like that. But I'm not going to go into that. You can look at my other video and check that shit out if you're interested. But I think that's it for now. I'm sure I missed something that I can't think of. As far as sprockets go, I recommend JT. They're steel. They hold up for a long time. Don't run an aluminum sprocket because they will wear down really easily and you'll be pissed off because you spent $120 on a sprocket that is going to last you 1 or 2 seasons maybe. I have an aluminum that I'm going to run on my dirt setup, and that's over here underneath my bench. Just bought that over the winter time. So I'm going to run dirt trim eventually on this bike, which I haven't done. But that is the plan going forward, just because I want to hit some trails and stuff like that. If you do plan to run a dirt setup, if you're looking into buying that, if you already have it, great. If you don't have it, I recommend doing it. You have 2 bikes for one. If you do that, don't forget, and you probably already know this, but you will need to swap out the front rotor to a 310, not a 320. I think I accidentally looked at buying a 320 and then somebody told me, no, it's 310. Pretty sure. Google that shit. But you'll need an extra 310 rotor to put on the front. Those run anywhere from like 60 to like $180 depending on which one you get. But that is importante. I've relocated my key. If you do that, that's fine. It'll just bolt right onto here. I don't even think I cut anything. Maybe I cut a little material here or something like that. But I took it off the top and bolted it on the side with this triple clamp bolt, and it works just fine. I just like having it there. I didn't like it up here because it would get in the way and shit gets stuck down in there or something, and then I don't know, it's just clunky there, so I like it on the side. But yeah, that's it. If you guys have any questions or anything like that, please feel free to comment below. Hit me up on the Facebooks, STL Supermoto. You should be able to find me on there. Just I don't know how you look it up on Facebook, but it's just STL Supermoto. Getting ready to have some rides coming up. It will be hosting a scavenger hunt ride for STL Supermoto, which I'm pretty psyched about. I have wanted somebody to do this in the past, and no one has done it, or no one has set one up that I have seen. So I decided I'm going to do that shit. And so I've got that all mapped out for this coming Sunday. Hopefully I'll post up some videos soon after that. Haven't been making a lot of videos. My computer's kind of shit out on me, so I'm using my cell phone. Then I have a ride coming up on May 13th, which is called Wine and Wheelies. It is out near Herman, Missouri. So we're going to start in Weldon Springs, right out 94 to Stonehill Winery. It is a beautiful stretch of Highway 94 that runs along the Missouri River. Really looking forward to that. Again, that's coming up May 13th. If you guys are watching the video that are in the STL Supermoto page, which I just found out some of those guys actually watch my videos, which is cool. Please do not miss that. That's going to be a good time. I think that's all I got going on for now. If I, again, think of something else, maybe I'll post another video or whatever. But for now, that's just about it. Like I said, comment if you have any questions. Hit me up on Facebook. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And this video is way too long, so thanks, bye.